Positive thinking. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? It's basically sunshine in a bottle. We're always told, hey, look on the bright side, find that silver lining. But what if the real science behind all of this is way more complicated and, honestly, way more surprising than we think? All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, you know this song. Since 1988, this one little phrase has pretty much become the global anthem for positive thinking. It is super catchy, it's optimistic, and it's the go-to advice we give and get for, well, just about anything, isn't it?
But I really want you to think about that for a second. What if forcing ourselves to be happy all the time isn't just a waste of time? What if it actually makes things worse? What if, and this is the crazy part, what if in some cases it's actually dangerous?
Okay, so let's start right there with let's call it the dark side of just being relentlessly optimistic. There's actually a name for it now that researchers are using, toxic positivity. And believe me, it has some very, very real consequences. And what's so wild about this is how concrete these dangers are. I mean, we're talking about real-world stuff. According to research from the Amen clinics, having this kind of overly positive mindset isn't just some quirky personality trait. It can literally lead you to take huge risks, both financially and physically, because you just think, it'll all work out. It creates this thing called an optimism bias, where we kind of trick ourselves into believing nothing bad can happen to us. And that's when you start ignoring major warning signs, in your health, in your relationships. Plus, it just forces you to bottle up how you really feel. And that's just not healthy in the long run. So where did this whole idea come from? The one that says your thoughts can literally shape your reality? Let's trace this really extreme version of positive thinking, the whole think it and it will appear thing, all the way back to its roots.
Okay, so at the very core of this is something called the law of attraction. You've probably heard it called manifestation more recently. The basic idea is this. Your thoughts are energy, right? And that energy goes out into the universe and attracts, similar energy back to you. So in a nutshell, what you think is what you get. But here's the thing. This is not some new TikTok trend. No way. This is actually a really old idea that just gets a new paint job every generation. It started way back in the 19th century with this New Thought spiritual movement. Then, in 1937, it exploded with the book Think and Grow Rich. Then, remember The Secret from 2006? That took it global. And now it's back on social media as Lucky Girl Syndrome. Same idea, different package. So even though it's been popular for forever, we have to be super clear about this. There is absolutely zero scientific evidence that the law of attraction is real. The scientific community is pretty much unanimous on this. It's pseudoscience. It's a belief that's dressed up in science-y sounding language, but it has no foundation in actual testable reality.
And this isn't just harmless daydreaming. This belief can cause real, actual harm. In fact, recent research found a direct link between people who strongly believe in manifestation and, taking much bigger risks, especially with their money. It even showed they were more likely to face bankruptcy. I mean, think about it. If you truly believe everything will just magically work out, you can make some really devastating choices. Okay, so if magical thinking is off the table, does that mean being optimistic is a bad thing? No, not at all. Absolutely not. The key here is to make a shift, to move away from the pseudoscience and dive into the actual neuroscience to see what's really happening in our brains. You see, real, healthy optimism, it's not about sending a wish out into the cosmos. It's an actual, measurable process happening inside your head. It's a function of brain areas like your prefrontal cortex. Yep, that part right behind your forehead that does all the planning. And it's fueled by brain chemicals like dopamine, that feel-good reward signal. It's something we can actually study, measure, and this is the most important part, something we can learn to build up in a healthy scientific way. So this really lays out the two different paths, doesn't it? On one side, you have the law of attraction. That's all about passive belief, it's based on pseudoscience, and the whole goal is just to attract stuff. But on the other side, you have positive psychology. This is a whole field of science, based on hard evidence. Its approach is active practice, and its goal isn't just to get stuff, but to actually build real, lasting well-being. And this is the scientific alternative we've been talking about. See, positive psychology doesn't just tell you to think happy thoughts. It's the actual study of what makes people flourish. It looks at our strengths or virtues and figures out what really builds things like resilience, genuine happiness, and a life that feels meaningful. So, what does that actually look like in practice? Well, think of positive psychology as giving you a whole toolkit filled with proven, evidence-based practices that help you build a real foundation for well-being. Researchers in this field have actually pinpointed 6 core virtues that are pretty much valued across all human cultures. Think of them as the building blocks for a good life. You've got things like courage, humanity, but for what we're talking about today, we're going to zoom in on that last one, transcendence. So what is transcendence? It's basically all about connecting to something that's bigger than just you. It's about finding meaning outside of your own day-to-day wants and needs. And one of the most powerful and most scientifically studied strengths inside this virtue is gratitude, a simple, active practice.
All right, so instead of just wishing for good things to come your way, what if we shifted our focus to the good things that are already here? Let's look at the hard science behind what's called a gratitude intervention. And listen, we are not talking about just 1 or 2 small studies here. This is a meta-analysis. That means it's a giant review of 64 separate randomized controlled trials. This is the absolute gold standard of scientific evidence. We're talking about thousands and thousands of people across dozens of experiments. And the results? Honestly, they're pretty incredible. Across all of those studies, people who actively practiced gratitude, and we're talking about something as simple as keeping a gratitude journal, they saw a real, measurable drop in their anxiety symptoms, a drop of almost 8%. That's huge.
And it wasn't just anxiety either. The same massive analysis found that these gratitude practices also led to a big drop in symptoms of depression, almost 7%. This isn't just a feeling, it's a real, measurable impact on people's mental health. But here's the kicker. It's not just about getting rid of the bad stuff. It's about building up the good stuff. Those same people also showed a nearly 6% increase in their overall mental health scores. So when you put it all together, less anxiety, less depression, and a boost in overall well-being, the science is just crystal clear. This isn't about just thinking positive. This is about a practice that is proven to improve your life.
And really, that's the final question, isn't it? It's the choice between just passively thinking positive and actively practicing well-being. It's the difference between wishing for a better reality and engaging in the things that science shows can actually help you build one. Because the evidence is clear. What we do matters so much more than what we just wish for.